Ladies, I don't know if you're going to be able to build a solid, trusting, lasting relationship unless we can make sure our men have the freedom to express their concerns and we not weaponize them. In fact, it's pretty much impossible. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Before You Do with Verlyn. I'm your host and favorite premarital coach, Verlyn Tarlton, and thank you for joining me today. Today's topic, 3 things women struggle with. And I am a woman, so I understand these things very, very well. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to talk about is weaponizing men's concerns. Number 2, listening to respond versus listening to understand. And then number 3, understanding our men. I believe these are 3 things across the board that either we all struggle with or at some point have struggled with. Let's get right into it. We're going to talk about weaponizing men's concerns first. What do I mean when I say weaponizing men's concerns? I'm saying using what they say to us against them. What they struggle with in terms of themselves, what they're trying to express in terms of concerns with us. Again, this could look like turning what the man says into a personal attack and then turning around and attacking the man. Here's an example. Let's say your man comes to you and says, I noticed that when we have a conversation, you keep bringing up issues from the past. And then the response, ladies, would be something like this. So now you're trying to control what I say, or I can't express myself. That's toxic masculinity. Or every time I try to say something, I'm wrong. That's the stuff you on now. Those types of responses, those pushback responses, those in your face, I'm not hearing you responses. So instead of trying to legitimately hear and understand the concern, whether it's a concern about himself or something he's seen as a weakness in a particular area, or something that he's noticing about you within a relationship, when we turn it into a weapon, we use it to fight our men instead of seeing it as a possible growth opportunity for both parties. Sometimes we have to be able to hear something and not respond right at the moment, but just sit with that thing, think about it, and give it very careful consideration. That's a real practice to just sit, to think about it, and consider what's being said. And while you're thinking about it, the concerns, we're making sure we're not letting our emotions rule. No hurt feelings. And I don't mean that we don't have emotions. We all have them. What I'm saying is, even though those emotions may be present, they won't be the determining factor in how we process what we're hearing. And that's what it's about. It's about processing what we're hearing without the emotions. Does this make sense? Is it true? Do I do this? Do I say this? To genuinely understand what's been said and then to address it, and then be willing to make necessary adjustments as warranted. Here's another example. Let's say there's a concern, if there's an issue between you and your husband or your man, partner, and he may say, well, every time we have an issue, you call your mother, and then when I go around the family, they're looking at me funny, and clearly they're thinking about whatever it is you told them. And so he's saying this is a concern. We need to keep our issues in house, right? So instead of thinking about that and sitting for a minute, because it is a legitimate concern that if you're telling whatever is personal and then folks are responding to your man because of what you said, that is a legitimate concern. But instead, we say, you can't tell me what to say to my mother. I tell my mother everything. My mother's my best friend. You know all the rest, right? You can't control me. Then the head goes and then the finger goes up. She told me not to marry you in the first place. I wish I had listened. And then, of course, start bringing up things from before. Here's the thing, that's not going to help. The silent treatment, don't touch me, the cursing out, I'm going to call my mama anyway. Do you really think that that's going to pull your man, your husband, your partner closer to you? No. How about considering what he said and putting yourself in his shoes? Try to understand how he feels. Think about how it would feel if every time you all had a disagreement, he told his mother, his sister, his whoever raised him, and then they treated you some kind of way when you came around. You have to think about these things. That takes the removing of the emotions out of the equation and to sit and think about the situation if it were reversed and how that would make you feel. At that point in time, take accountability. It's easy. It's not as difficult as it may seem. Take accountability. Offer an apology. Validate that, yeah, you know what? You're right. I do that. And that is a problem. And maybe you need to seek out another avenue to work things out and not the people that are immediately attached to you that your husband is going to see, right? Finally, if you want to take it up a notch, you can ask, how can I make it right? So you've heard the issue, you've processed it without being angry, without having hurt feelings, or at least you've been able to move those feelings to the side and really think, own whatever it is that you did or said, and say, I apologize. Validate it. Yes, you're right. Yes, I did that. Yes, I do that. Yes, I said that. How can I make it right? Clearly, one of the ways would be to stop doing it, right? If that's what he's asking you to do, I won't belabor that point. Okay. There's another way that we take what our men tell us and we weaponize it and we use it against them, especially if they express a weakness of their own. And that's when you really hit them where it hurts. You know, they say, don't kick a man when he's down. These are regular rules of engagement when you're in a relationship. So imagine your man telling you he's struggling in an area, let's say at work, and they're laying people off. And maybe he's a little nervous, right? He's trying to figure out what's going to happen because there's a pending layoff at his job. And now he's talking to you. You can handle it one of two ways. You can start going in and telling him, I told you 2 years ago you should take more classes. You shouldn't have got that job. You should have gotten this job. You know, you can just go on and on. This is an example of weaponizing what your man has told you. He's not telling you his concern. So you can reiterate that you were right once again and that he was wrong. Instead, you can try the understanding approach. How about I'm in your corner? We're in this together. How about we can sit down and try to see how we can work things out? What do you need me to do? What kind of moves do we want to make? Do you want to start looking for other jobs? Are they offering a severance package? Like all kind of different conversations you can have that says, I am standing with you. I am here for you. All of these ways that gives your husband or your man, partner, or whatever, a safe space where he can express a weakness, he can express a concern. This will ensure your man will continue to come to you with his concerns. When he feels safe, he doesn't feel like he's going to be attacked, taken on an emotional roller coaster where even more stress is going to be piled on the stress he already has. Ladies, that's not what we want. We want our men to have a space with us. Our men fight enough outside of the home. Let's make a home and a safe space peaceful where our men can come and find reprieve. I think one of the worst feelings in the world is to know that there's an issue that needs to be confronted or something that needs to be said and addressed. But the dread of knowing that if you express yourself, you're going to catch you know what. You have fear of reprisal. To have something that's bothering you and you don't have the freedom to express it without anger, vindictiveness, And all of these things coming from the person that you're supposed to be building a life with, it makes you feel some kind of way. Literally, I have felt that way. Like it's a feeling of dread because you already know how the person's going to react. It's a whole thing. And really, like, who wants to be going through that? He should be able to have honest dialogue without you being against him. Ladies, I don't know if you're going to be able to build a solid, trusting, lasting relationship unless we can make sure our men have the freedom to express their concerns and we not weaponize them. In fact, it's pretty much impossible. So let's change that. Let's hear what our men are saying to us in terms of our concerns, even about us, and let's understand. Let's sit down together. Let's work things out. We need to lend our ear in the same way we want our men to lend their ear to us when we have a concern. It's not our place to judge whether or not it makes sense or not. The mere fact that they're bringing it up should be enough to validate their concern. All right, let's go on to number 2. And this is a huge one. Listening to respond instead of listening to understand. Let me say this. We spend a lot of time listening only to prepare to say something with such urgency and quickness instead of trying to understand what is being said and the emotional, the feeling behind it. Why be in a relationship with someone that you don't even want to listen to? That doesn't make sense at all. You marry people or you're with people and you're in relationship with your person because at some point you were interested in what they had to say, right? I did an episode before and I talked about how we listen in 3D versus reflective listening. All right, so the 3Ds go like this: deflect, deny, defend. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. Deflect, deny, defend. So let's get into deflect. What that means, after you have heard a concern, you mention what he did last week, or you mention what he did yesterday or last month. Instead of hearing the concern, you deflect, you turn it around and you push it on him. That's deflecting. Instead of addressing what he's saying that you did right now, you want to say, well, you know what? Last week you did the same thing and I didn't say anything about that. Yesterday you did such and such. That is deflecting. That is taking the spotlight off of you and putting it on him. That's not the issue. You have to stick to the issue at hand. You can't go back to last week. You can't even go back to yesterday. I used to be on that end, right? And this is the thing I used to say. Look, this is what I'm talking about today. If you wanted to address what I did last week, you should have addressed that last week or last month. Let's figure this out, and then we can go back another day, another time. It's never the right time. When someone is trying to say that you did something, ladies, that is never the time to bring up something that the other party has done, to try to move off the responsibility and put it on him. We can do better, right? I think we can do better. Think about it. When you bring up a concern, do you want to hear about something that you did last week or yesterday or last month? No. You want to deal with this is what we're talking about today. The message is being sent. Hey, I don't want to talk about what I did. Let's talk about what you did. And let's face it, that's not how adults handle things. It's not a tit for tat. Here, your man is here expressing this issue right now. And it's really that simple. Okay? The next D is to defend. And what I'm saying is, whatever the actions were, you will claim I had a legitimate reason. If you didn't do this, I wouldn't have said this. If you would have gotten home on time, you wouldn't have had that to worry about. That basically narrows down to making excuses instead of taking accountability. He's saying you did this, and the attack or the weaponization is, well, you did that. And if you hadn't done that, I wouldn't have needed to do this. Again, you're building a defense. And I know this can be a hard one because you really legitimately feel like you know that you wouldn't have said this or done that if he had. But look, that's not the issue. The issue is the issue, and keep it there. Hold on to whatever that is for another time and another day. All right. And so instead of listening to defend, deflect, or deny, just listen to hear what it is. Put on your big girl boots and just get ready to hear. All right. We are taught as children that we are responsible and accountable for our own actions and that we cannot blame anybody else. I hope you're hearing where I'm coming from because this is so important. Turn our eyes inward, not blame our men, but look at ourselves. That's a part of the listening, to not respond, but to think and to understand. Oh my gosh, I remember how it was. I did not want my name tarnished. So as soon as somebody started saying, you did, you said, I think my mind would just blank out what was being said. And I would begin to, like an attorney, build my defense. Because the only thing I thought about, I want to make my name good. I want to clear my name. I don't want these bad things spoken about me. But I wasn't hearing, and it wasn't even that it was bad. It was just issues that we all, as adults, have to deal with whenever we are in relationships with other people. I've grown a lot from that point, and so now I can sit down. I can hear, and I don't have to respond right away. And when I do respond, because I have thought through what was being said, I can respond in a way that's peaceful instead of bringing on more conflict. All right. Number three, D, is deny. You know what that means. You just flat out say, I didn't do that. I didn't say that. I don't know what you're talking about. You must be hearing things, right? That's what we call playing dumb. What do you think that's going to accomplish? Absolutely nothing. To act like the man didn't see what he saw, didn't hear what he heard, that's not going to be a good look for you, ladies. We cannot refuse to admit the truth and think that things are going to turn out well. Own your stuff. It is okay to mess up from time to time. We are all flawed. Saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing does not make you a wrong person. It doesn't make you a bad wife. It does not make you a bad woman or a bad partner. It simply means that when you know better, you do better. It really is that simple. Sometimes we make it a lot more complicated than it has to be because our emotions rule, because we feel some kind of way. We got to defend ourselves. We got to deflect. We got to deny. No, own your stuff and then do better. Listen and understand. That is something that has to be practiced. For most of us, it doesn't come easy. We are not always used to thinking first. We want to immediately respond. We got to work on that. I remember back in the day, I would wait for the person, whoever it was. Please stop talking. That's what my brain was saying. Just hurry up, say what you got to say. Because I had a whole bunch of stuff to say and I didn't want to forget it. That was number one. Number two, I felt like what was being said didn't even make sense anyway. And I wanted you to hurry up and shut up so I can say something because I knew that what I had to say made sense. And in my mind, I figured if you heard what I had to say, you would realize that it made sense and all this would be over. That was literally my rationale. That didn't work too well. So I definitely learned that there is another and a better way. I am so glad I joined a group called Toastmasters because, and this has been over 20 years ago, we had to write speeches, say speeches, but what really worked for me the most is we had to respond, we had to critique, and we had to rate these speeches. And so we really had to listen very carefully, and we had to rate the speeches by a rubric. Did the person use certain gestures, eye contact? We couldn't worry about whether we liked these people or not. We had to understand and critique. That was so critical because I carried those lessons into my personal life. Even though it took a while to incorporate them, it did a lot of good to really learn and hone in on those listening skills. By practicing reflective listening, it brought so much more understanding when we had to have these hard conversations. Ladies, the best thing we can do is learn to listen, to understand what our men are saying to us because they want to be understood. And like everybody else in the world, they want to be heard. And in this way, we can provide a listening ear. So let me talk about reflective listening. That is when you are actually listening to understand. And then when you have heard whatever's being said, repeat that back. Say, let me make sure I'm understanding. Are you saying when I say this, you feel disrespected? Wait for the man to say yes, no. Okay, if you didn't get it right, ask him, can you say that again? I'm trying to understand. Let him say that again and then say it again. So are you saying such and such? And then he will say yes. Well, guess what? Once you understand what he has said, at that point, you're responsible to process it. You may not even be able to answer it right away, but say, you know what, let me think about this. I don't want to just give you a quick response. And then when you go back and say, he felt disrespected, then you go back. Say, you know what, I didn't mean to disrespect you. I apologize. I would never do that. And then if you want to take it up a notch, ask, how can I make it right? I know this takes some humility to admit that you were wrong and then to ask how you can make it right. But you would be surprised. You can totally dismantle anger by using a little bit of humility. Let me say it again, ladies. You can dismantle anger by using a little humility. How can I make it right? Are we not our brother's keeper? Are we not responsible for seeing that he is happy, especially in his own home? Listen, you can work these things out when you can practice humility and you can make things right. It may be as simple as, hey, just don't do that again. Fair enough, right? You've created this safe space where your man can come to you and not worry about rebuttal and pushback and all of this. You can practice reflective listening, and the two of you can solve any issue together. I promise you, because for every problem, there is a solution. And when you master the art of reflective listening and create a safe space for your man to come to, you can practically eliminate him from gaining a listening ear at the workplace. You don't want that wannabe work wife, right? To be his listening ear, the ballet instructor. No, his safe place, his listening ear will be with you. All right. Let's jump into number 3. We struggle with understanding our men. And clearly, these podcasts are just snippets, and it's a lot more in depth we need to go to. But guess what? I'm giving you just enough to get started to move you in the right direction. You got to start somewhere. So let's talk about this relationship and marriage. We're going to assume that your partner, your husband, is the person that you're with because they want the best for you and the best for that relationship, right? That should be a given. If that person doesn't, then you need to rethink why you're really with them. It has been my experience that decent men, the kind that you want to marry, they want to be understood. They want peace. They want someone to build with. These are basic things that men want. They don't want to live in a combat zone. They get enough of that at the workplace. In the world in general, I can't impress upon you enough how important it is to be your husband's safe space where he cannot find it with any of his male counterparts. It's only a space where the woman can nurture, hear him, assure him, say, I get you, I respect you. I'm willing to be whatever you need so that you can be the best man that you can be. And to let him know that he's always your hero. Ladies, understand this. It's nearly impossible to go through this world with brown skin, to be a man and to be unscathed. We don't see it, literally, but I promise you, your man has an X on his chest and a target on his back. They are hunted by every entity that you can think of. We need to understand this. Our men want peace. Last month, I did an episode on submission. I got pushback. Oh my goodness. Pushback on the word submission. Even though I stated it's just cooperation, so we can support each other to build healthy lives, healthy families. And actually, I had a guest and she was stating this. And I couldn't believe the comments that I got that ladies did not want to hear that. And I get it because that word has been abused in so many ways. However, we need to really rethink what it means. Submission is just cooperating with the man to make sure that what needs to be done is done so we can be healthy and happy. That is the big picture. We worked outside of the home. You know how it works. You have one boss, you got somebody under that boss. Everybody has a job. You do your job, you get paid, and there's an overall vision that's met, something that's accomplished. It's the same thing in the home. You got your man, hopefully he has a vision. Everybody's doing their job and supporting each other to build wealth, to build healthy relationships, to build good health, children that'll be productive in society. If we understand this, ladies, this is a concept that will work in our home as well. We don't have to feel like we're being belittled because we submit. We don't feel like we're children. They're telling us what to do. No, we are partners. We are support. That's all it is. We do it at the job. Yes, sir. Give me some coffee. Yes, sir. Go do this. Yes, sir. Your lunch is from 1 to 2. Okay. Why do we do it? We do it for the money, right? We suck up stuff for the money. We need that paycheck. Well, guess what? There are other women that do things for money. I'm going to leave that right there. Lady, submission is not a bad word. I've been married for almost 19 years. And let me tell you, submission is a safe place to be. Let's work together. I don't think men are as complicated as we think they are, but they do need to be understood. And I'll tell you a formula I use every now and then. I just ask my husband, what do you want? What do you want from me? What do you want out of this relationship? What do you want for yourself? It's okay to ask these questions. Also, cooperation is a buzzword along with respect. And we need to understand that. Our men want respect. Why not? If this is the man you love, you've chosen to be with for the rest of your life, you want to build a family, why would you not pick someone that you're willing to respect? Don't you think our brothers deserve our respect and our allegiance? Where else are they going to get it from? Relationships or relationship is not a topic we're taught about in school. And so we end up experiencing on the job training. But now we have podcasts like these that you can listen to and learn from. We're able to understand men, to understand what they want. I truly believe men are genuinely still good men. They want good relationships and families. And there's a reason that so much is going on between us because we just don't understand our men like we should. If you don't have a man, guess what? Do some research. Ask your father, your grandfather, your uncle. Ask about men. Ask about what they want. Ask about what they need. Study your partner. If you already have a man, ask him. If you really don't know, it's okay to ask. We need to understand our men, ladies. And while all men are not the same, we know that. However, there are some basic things that they all agree on. Men want to be understood, they warrant respect, they need cooperation, and they value femininity. Let me say it again. Men want to be understood, they warrant respect, they need cooperation, and they value femininity. Clearly, there's more, but I don't think that's a lot to ask. Do you? If we take these three areas where we struggle in and use them as growth opportunities, I believe we will be able to get together, to build together, and stay together. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Visit my website, verlyntarlton.com. Until next week, may you experience extraordinary love. Bye for now.